The old garage sat at the edge of town like a forgotten relic. Its faded metal doors were covered in rust, broken signs hung crooked from the walls, and weeds pushed through every crack in the pavement. Most people drove past without a second glance. To them, it was nothing more than an eyesore waiting to be demolished. When the property came up during a corporate asset liquidation meeting, the executives laughed. "It's worthless," one manager said. "A money pit," another agreed. The company's CEO, Richard Kane, barely looked at the file before signing it off. His corporation had acquired dozens of abandoned properties through mergers and acquisitions, and this garage was among the least valuable. The land wasn't located in a prime area, the building needed extensive repairs, and no serious buyer had shown interest for years. Then a man named Daniel Brooks appeared. Daniel wasn't a businessman in a tailored suit. He wasn't backed by investors or wealthy relatives. He was a mechanic who had spent nearly 20 years repairing vehicles in other people's shops. He knew engines better than spreadsheets and could identify a transmission problem by sound alone. When he heard the garage was available, he emptied nearly everything he had saved. $1,000. That was enough. The CEO approved the sale personally, amused that anyone would pay even that much. When Daniel arrived to collect the keys, Richard happened to be visiting another company facility nearby. "You really bought that place?" Richard asked with a smirk. Daniel nodded. "I did." Richard laughed. "I hope you know what you're doing." Daniel looked toward the rundown structure. "Most people see what's there today. I see what it could become." The CEO shook his head. Optimism was cheap. Reality was expensive. Over the following weeks, Daniel worked harder than he ever had in his life. Every morning before sunrise, he unlocked the garage and started cleaning. He hauled away truckloads of scrap metal. He repaired damaged walls himself. He replaced broken windows using secondhand materials. When he couldn't afford equipment, he rebuilt old machines from salvaged parts. Friends occasionally stopped by. Most were supportive. Some thought he had lost his mind. The garage looked hopeless. Yet Daniel never focused on what was broken. He focused on progress. One repaired wall, one cleaned room, one functioning lift, one customer at a time. The first month was brutal. Very few customers appeared. Many local residents assumed the garage was still abandoned. Bills piled up. His savings shrank. There were nights when he sat alone under a flickering light bulb, wondering if he had made the worst decision of his life. But every morning, he came back. One afternoon an elderly farmer arrived with an old pickup truck that several shops had refused to repair. Daniel examined the engine carefully. Most mechanics would have recommended replacing it entirely. Instead, Daniel spent 2 days rebuilding the damaged components. The repair cost a fraction of what other shops had quoted. The farmer left impressed. Then he told his friends. Word began spreading. Soon local customers started arriving from neighboring towns. They discovered something rare. Daniel treated every vehicle as if it belonged to his own family. He explained repairs honestly. He charged fair prices. He never recommended unnecessary work. Trust grew quickly. Within 3 months, the garage was busier than anyone expected. Customers filled the parking lot. Appointments were scheduled weeks in advance. Revenue increased steadily. Instead of spending profits on luxury items, Daniel reinvested every dollar. He purchased better equipment. He hired 2 additional mechanics. He expanded operating hours. Most business owners would have celebrated. Daniel remained focused. Because he wasn't building a garage, he was building a vision. While working on customer vehicles, he noticed a growing problem throughout the industry. Many repair shops struggled to obtain affordable parts. Supply chains were inefficient. Independent mechanics often paid excessive prices. Daniel believed he could solve that issue. Using profits from the garage, he started sourcing quality refurbished components directly from suppliers. At first, he sold parts only to nearby repair shops. Demand exploded. His reputation for quality carried over from the garage business. Orders increased every week. Soon he needed warehouse space. The old storage section behind the garage became a small distribution center. Then it became too small. Daniel leased another building, then another. By the 4th month, local newspapers began covering the story. People were fascinated. A mechanic had purchased a property everyone considered worthless. Now it was becoming one of the fastest-growing businesses in the region. The articles attracted even more attention. Investors began calling. Banks offered financing. Business owners proposed partnerships. Daniel listened carefully but remained cautious. He remembered every person who had dismissed the garage. He understood how quickly public opinion changed when success appeared. Meanwhile, Richard Kane, the CEO who had sold the property, first learned about the garage's transformation during a board meeting. An executive presented market reports. One slide displayed photographs. Richard stared at them. He recognized the building immediately. The rusty garage looked completely different. Fresh paint covered the exterior. New signage stood near the road. Rows of customer vehicles filled the parking lot. Revenue charts showed rapid growth. "What company is this?" Richard asked. The room fell silent. The executive answered, "The garage you sold 6 months ago." Richard frowned. Impossible. But it wasn't. The numbers were real. The garage business was thriving. The parts distribution operation was expanding across multiple counties. And Daniel's company was hiring workers at a pace that surprised industry analysts. Curiosity eventually got the better of Richard. He decided to visit personally. When he arrived, he barely recognized the property. The building that once looked abandoned now buzzed with activity. Employees moved efficiently between service bays. Delivery trucks loaded inventory. Customers waited in comfortable lounges. Everything reflected professionalism. Daniel greeted him politely. Richard looked around in disbelief. "This is the same place." Daniel smiled. "Same place." The CEO shook his head. "I honestly thought it was worthless." Daniel glanced toward the bustling facility. "It was never worthless." "What do you mean?" "The building wasn't the opportunity." Richard remained silent. The opportunity was hidden inside the problems everyone wanted to avoid. For the first time, the CEO understood. He had evaluated the property based on its current condition. Daniel had evaluated it based on its future potential. 6 months after paying just $1,000, Daniel's growing company was valued in the millions. The garage had become the headquarters of a rapidly expanding automotive service and parts enterprise. More importantly, it had become proof of a powerful truth. Success often hides where others refuse to look. The abandoned garage that executives mocked became the foundation of an empire. Not because it was valuable when purchased, but because one man possessed something more valuable than money: vision. While others saw rust, he saw possibility. While others saw risk, he saw opportunity. And while others walked away, he went to work. That made all the difference.